Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. Thanks for stopping by. I'm back out in the torch shop to make another marble, and I'm going to start out doing a pretty familiar, simple technique that I've used a lot, and then I'm going to add some dichroic to that, so I'm kind of curious how that turns out. Meanwhile, I got little critters running around on my table. A little distraction when you have little eight-legged friends. So I'm just going to jump into the main build rod. This will be the guts of the marble as far as the clear glass goes. So we've got a rough cut end. We'll clean up. Most of these videos I try and just start with a nice section of glass, a third of a full rod. We'll start pulling off some of the messy end. And then we need to gather this up, and I've been having some issues with my computer screen blanking out. Hopefully it keeps recording. Seems to be recording. But the display has been blanking out to black. That's not a good look. I tried chasing down a few things. I'm not sure if it's a thermal problem with being too hot out here. It's not that hot. I thought I was out of the woods and it just went blank for a second. What are you going to do? I've got an old graphics card that I was going to put in there and see if it's the onboard graphics that's the problem, or maybe it's just the cable. Maybe it's my monitor. As long as it keeps recording. It's just pretty annoying. So I kind of like to have the monitor where I can see it so I know what's being recorded. And of course I didn't do this in the last half an hour or something while I'm setting up. Okay, trying to get a bit of a gather going here amidst my distractions. I'm going to give it a squeeze. My old trusty mashers. Polish out some of those freeze marks. Okay, then we're going to do some fuming. So we'll start off doing gold on one side. we'll switch to doing silver on the other side, which is already gold splashed all over the place, but we'll put some silver on this side. Make a little contrast. Okay, then we have our choice of dots or stripes, or both. I think for this one I'm going to just do stripes. So I don't know why, but what I've typically done is just kind of come across here at an angle. And then repeat that in the opposite side. Come back in between. Okay, that's pretty good. And we'll melt these lines in and burn out some of this fume. There's a lot of fume on here. So that'll get some of it. Then we'll try and go kind of an aggressive flame to chase out some of the rest of this fume. You have to get it up really hot so the shape is getting pretty wonky. Okay, got most of that burned out. And we'll go back and make an even wider base here. Once again, we're going to polish out some freeze marks from every time you do a marver motion, you make some chill marks in the glass surface. Okay, I need to move from a very aggressive flame to a very soft flame and pick up our dichroic. I've got the dichroic side down. I'll try this coming off the diamond point. And then with the dichroic side away from me, I'll warm this piece up. So I'm trying to get the base pretty hot here. Bring this dichroic in here and try and lay it down with a little kind of, I don't know what what I'm doing, transitioning across it. So heating from one end to the other to let it kind of lay down. And then we want to make sure this is well sealed on there. And we'll try that again on the other side with our other piece. So let's see, I gotta clean this off first. You can kind of tell if the flame is the right flame if it's nice and quiet. Again, make sure we're heating up the glass cover side and not the dichroic side. Kind of keep this dichroic hanging out here, staying warm. And make sure I'm not mixed up on which side is which. I want to lay down the dichroic side onto the base here. Okay, now, next thing is I want to make sure all these edges are sealed on the dichroic, so we're going to run around. Let's see. Not sure if it makes much difference, but we'll try this way. So just kind of tracing around the outside edge. Yeah, I sure hope this recording is working. Still counting. And then, let's see, what are we going to do now? So just for the heck of it, I'm going to fill in a little bit more clear cover on this dichroic. Try and protect that layer. So the next phase is going to require some heat. So try and stay out in the flame and further out. It's kind of a little bit of a rich flame. Try and stay a little bit lower temperature. So I'm trying to just kind of pause on the flat sides. Try and build up a heat base in the interior here. And start giving it a little twist. Bigger flame. So this is all just kind of a mashup technique of getting just a little twist and then trying to kind of squeeze this together, create folds. So I don't want to over twist it, I don't want to stretch it out. I actually kind of push this together. And this side will be on the left-hand side will be the lens that we build up. So you can start kind of working towards that by condensing a little bit of glass in here. And kind of balance the heat, not get it overheated. Dichroic is susceptible to being disturbed by too much heat. Okay, and we're getting a little bit of a accumulation here on the lens side. Okay. Probably actually just cut off our handle here at this point. And that kind of avoid generating any twisting action here. I'll try and condense this together. And we'll pull off this tail. Remove a little bit of glass there and focus this end. Okay, well, I don't know how much we messed up our Dichroic, but hopefully it's still got some good properties. So I've got some purple lilac. And I've been sort of in my mind to use this for a while. I don't know why, but I'll take this opportunity to put some of this in the background. I'm going to space this out because I'm going to add some dark cobalt in between here. Okay, we want to melt this in a little. Again, trying to avoid any super aggressive heat. To get this kind of smoothed out so I can add my cobalt. It doesn't have to be flat, but okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to start out here. Trying to define this edge a bit, stacking this color. Really hard to visualize. I'm trying to run down through the trough This is kind of between the purple lilac, but may not you may not be doing that exactly. And we'll use our graphite paddle to squish this in. Kind of tighten up this cone. Wind up making kind of maybe a two-tier cone shape, which kind of two different angles. Doesn't always have to be just one continuous angle. I'm blocking the view there, but I'm going to run this edge. All right. So next step, more fuming. Okay, got some gold fume down. Now we're going to do some of our fill in. So from this perspective right now, it looks like that Dichroic got kind of burnt out. I don't know. I've got several different color samples. These are actually kind of like scrap glass, really. And I think this color I haven't used yet. So it may be kind of burned out, but a part of the learning process to see what you can get away with. And some, it's dependent on the colored glass or the, Dichroic, whatever it is you're using in your marble may or may not be the right material to be working with to do this kind of a thing. So it may be better suited to a different style or type of use. Well, the display seems to be behaving now, so I don't know if I have to upload this video with some blanked out messy stuff. I don't know, it seems to have kind of settled down, which is weird, because if it's heat related. It seems like it would be getting worse, not better. Okay, just trying to do an initial run of clear over the layer that I consider the base. It's kind of the transition layer between the inside and the outside. And come up right up to the rim. So this upcoming week, we've got family visiting, so I won't be doing a marble video next week. What am I doing here? I'm going to be over here. So at this point, I just kind of push in the edges. It helps when you've got a bit of a starting mass to the lens part of the marble. You've got a lot more control over your workpiece when you have, because in my left hand, essentially I've got a punty, a big fat punty, but it's also part of the marble, so when you have kind of a big connection there, helps keep it stable. All right, we're going to add on more clear. So doing this particular technique, like I say, I've done that basic flattened starting point, fume, whip lines or dots or whatever, twisted up. I'm kind of curious to see how that looks lying on top of the dichroic layer. And every one of these, the twisting, folding, and compressing phase, there's a lot of variables going on there, so the end result is going to look different pretty much every time. Yeah. Well, got my marble mug full of marbles. My display seems to be hanging in there, so hope I've got a video here. Yeah, as many parts of the country right now this year are experiencing a lot of heat. We're kind of on the edge. We don't have crazy high temperatures, but it's going to be a hot one today. I don't always see bubbles at this point that I don't like, but I do see one that I can grab. I'll pull that out. It's always deeper, always deeper than it seems, and the more you mess around with it, now I'm getting off center. Try and get back on center. At this point I want to round out that whole, well, kind of the whole thing. So we'll let the heat do some of that work, but we can also use our marble mold at this point. That's looking pretty cool. So now we can add our backside color. And we're going to continue this little shake-up I did of using a fumed layer underneath the base. The base layer is fumed on the inside and the outside. Well, maybe not on the inside this time. And then I'm going to kind of do an open pattern of lines and raking. So you can see some of that inside layer, that base layer. So come all the way around the circumference again with color, and keep our edge. I'm going to break away similar to what I do if I was going to use 3 colors, which I've been kind of my standard for years and years. And a lot of times when I use 3 colors and put them on, if they're dense colors, you barely see anything of the reflective fume layer underneath. Okay, that was Silver Strike 5. This is Blue Spruce. Some nice color contrast. Easy working color. Not a lot of issues with boiling or flaws in the glass itself. I don't know, computers are just such a mystery. I haven't seen it glitch for a while. What's up with that? Well, these lines in. And it seems like this kind of goes on longer than necessary, but you really want your color lines to be pretty well fused in before you go to the next step of manipulating. So in that process is building up a lot of heat base right now, and I don't really want that heat base, I just want that surface to melt in. So now we'll give it a moment to lose some heat. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there watching these videos. Give a shout out, give a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It encourages me to keep doing these. Got quite a few up there, over 130 videos now. Alright, we gotta get a little area pretty screaming hot in order to start raking. And then we have to kind of follow this along in kind of the pace of the torch flame. So it's heating up one little area at a time as we go around. So raking like this, you want to have the sense of a little bit of drag. So if the glass is too hot, it'll just like flow like soup, and that's not really what you want. If it's too cold, you find yourself really like pulling on it, and that's definitely not what you want. So you want to try and catch the glass right when it's in the Goldilocks zone of easy to work, but not too hot, not too cold. I often refer to glasswork like this as controlled chaos. Glass has to be hot enough to move, but you don't want it going completely out of control. Now try and pull that out on the end there. It doesn't always wind up with a focal point that's really right on center. And then we'll push back this outside edge. And I don't think we had any real tears in the... Yeah, that one maybe I can push this together a little bit. Alright, once again, we've got to melt that in. As you rotate this, you got the glass that's in the flame that's really hot, comes back around, and if it's looking like it's darker and not as hot as it comes back up around, it gives you some sense of how much heat you're building up in it. And once it's glowing consistently all the way around, you know you've got a pretty good heat base. So we're going to have to switch to our larger marble mold to kind of rest it in there. So at this point I don't really need to do a lot of work on this backside because I'll have to do that later. Now we'll let it settle down for a second so we can get a handle on here. Alrighty, time to start building up some clear mass for the lens. In this process, we're kind of away from the acrylic layer, so we can kind of be aggressive. Got a lot of a lot of yucky flume on the glass surface. So to some degree, you know, you can burn off fume, but especially with silver. There's often some of that has kind of soaked into the glass itself. It's not just on the surface, and so then you get it super hot and you're just kind of letting it diffuse into the glass, which may or may not be a good thing. And I know some people get pretty hung up on, you know, what they consider to be flaws or things that are undesirable, and I'm pretty harsh on my own work. I'm often critical of work that I've produced. And, you know, an option, one way to look at it, this is an art form, and the art will leave the fingerprints of the artist. And, well, this isn't intended to be perfection. There's some glass work that strives for perfection. There's some glass artists that do incredible detail work or techniques that I don't know what they're doing. Their work is phenomenal. They're asking pretty steep prices, and I'm like, yeah, definitely producing work that deserves a pretty high price tag. And I've, you know, being here in the Bitterroot Valley of Montana, started out selling in the local scene at art fairs and gallery and so on, and people don't have a lot of money here for the most part. So you got to keep your price point reasonable, or you're not going to move anything here. So that kind of led me down the path to comparing myself to ceramic artists. There's ceramic artists that deal in really high end, and then there's others that just kind of stick to the affordable working man's pottery. So I find myself often kind of in that mix of trying to make some cool glass that's affordable. And I don't have it really in me to do some of the detail work and some of the high-end stuff. It's not something I aspire to do. At my age and my eyesight changing, there's a lot of techniques and so on that I'm just not gonna do. But it's fun to keep pushing and trying different things and seeing what I can come up with, utilizing some relatively simple skills. Okay, I think I've got enough here. Torch is very noisy right now. Doesn't need to be quite so noisy. Alright, we're going to start ripping off some glass. And heat up one little area at a time and grab a hold and just kind of pull it. I'm trying to kind of dig into that edge a little bit, but not too much. Yeah. I'm sorry to keep bringing this up, but this computer really puzzles me because it's been stable, as far as I can tell, for quite a while. And I don't know why. I don't know why it had a problem. I don't know why it isn't doing it now. We have a saying around our household that it all works on FM, and I'll leave that up to your imagination what that stands for. Okay, that got the transition zone. And then I'm going to come back out here and skim off some more clear glass, just to try and make sure we have just some nice clean optical glass as much as possible. There's still going to be anomalies. It always surprises me when I look at the finished marble and you get the lighting right, the angles right, and you're like, that's interesting. But this marble sitting on your desk under normal lighting, you're never gonna notice some of these anomalies. It's one thing. Sometimes the close-up photography and videos that I do shows off a lot of issues, more so than you're going to see when you're just a casual observer to it. Alright, transition to another tier. Kind of go round and round in layers. Alright, see what happens when we condense this down. And we got quite the elongated shape. Got to somehow get this transformed into a sphere. So start off getting this clear glass heated up, which is pretty easy to do. Now I'm trying to get the whole marble warmed up to some degree. There's so many times I get to this point and I think that the pan is hot. I think that I've got too much clear, and then I pull some off. So I would say that is true in this situation. Okay, one thing I also want to do is barrel this. That clear moves so much easier than the color. It starts kind of pushing over the edge. We start doing a lot of manipulations here that sometimes involve a lot of different mold sizes and marbling and pushing stuff around. And one of my favorite things to do is just using some rotation. And some of it seems like it's kind of a back and forth battle where I'm barreling it out and then trying to round it out. But you want to get that glass to where it's kind of at a plastic state where it can move around. And we're actually expanding that line between the color and the clear. Even though it may not seem like it. And we get our other marble mold, and then when you get in there, we can push down on this some to kind of squeeze those ends together. Coming back to that L marver to try and preserve that transition circumference area. Okay, now a little bit more gentle in the marble mold. Spin this up a little bit. Oops. I didn't really want that. Yeah, a lot of things going on in there. Be interesting to see how this looks. I'm not convinced this is going to be a really good result. But I'm trying to kind of get back into reassessing working with the acrylic glass and what I feel like I can do. I've done quite a few little test marble things, and got some things working for me. Like I say, this one color sheet, whatever, the Dichroic, I don't think I've used it at all in my little trials, and it may be one that likes to break up more into a kind of a more of a silver speckle effect. Okay, you can't spin fast if you're not dead center with your puntee. So usually I kind of go back and forth between trying to spin it up and then realizing I've got to get it on center, and it doesn't always work out too well. Okay, now we're using a little pressure to get this pushed together. Marble is fitting kind of tight in the 2-inch marble mold. So I'm not really running on the rim. We've got a smaller size one here. When it goes into the marble mold tight, it's in some ways you think, well, when I started out, I thought that's what you needed. But that was the whole point of having that half circle in the graphite. But then I've come to realize that writing on the rim of a hole that's quite a bit smaller is actually a much better way to get smooth curvature, because you can go through these motions going up and down and different angles. You're getting that cup, that rim, to affect a lot of surface area, and you can get to where you don't leave very much in the way of wrinkles and marks in it. So yeah, this idea of racing around, and when you feel that spin and it's nice and smooth, there's no chatter, no resistance, you know you've got a nice smooth surface. And then we go in here and just do flame polish cycles. When you have reflective fuming underneath, it's sometimes kind of tricky looking at the reflection. You have to make sure you're looking at the right the correct reflection of the surface, not what's going on inside. Yeah, some bubble action in there too on the edges of the, well, around the Dichroic. One thing about these type of marbles, you got that front lens. There's a lens. It's magnifying everything inside there. So every little detail, even if it's like a little bubble or something, looks big. And in reality, it's teeny, teeny. All right, our last puntee with any luck. Knock on wood. At this point we want to be gentle. No horsing around now. Make sure we dig out the remnants of that funky attachment. I don't always do a perfect job of that, and sometimes you'll wind up with a little halo where that attachment was in the finished marble. And it's another one of those little things. It's sort of a defect, sort of an artifact. Doesn't really matter too much, but when I can see it, it may bother me. Okay, come into our undersized marble mold. Start on the solid side, so you kind of use the solid part that's already nice and smooth, and that becomes kind of your guide as you come into the mold. And quick heats and quick passes in the marble mold, things are looking good. And when you get down to the flame polish, you want to get some serious heat and get out of it. And keep rotating. But a lot of times it's kind of hard to assess what's happening in the marble at this stage until it goes through the kiln cycle and you see it at room temperature. A lot of things don't quite look right now, but they might be really nice later. All right, just for fun, we're going to run through another heat cycle. So kind of slow rotations, just sit in that flame. Get crazy hot, but just on the surface. We're not trying to build up any heat base right now. And pop out of there. And keep rotating. People always make this mistake. They think, oh, it's done now, I can stop rotating. I say, no, don't. It's still moving until it is solid, which actually doesn't happen until you get down below the strain temperature. Around what I put in my kiln controller is 960 degrees is the strain temperature I use. If it's above that temperature, it's still moving. Okay. I think we are ready to cut loose here. Some water on the tweezers, hover over our marble mold. Break off our punty. And we're just going to hit a little bit of flame polish here. And this is one where all you can do is look at reflections. gotta be careful. You don't want to get too much heat or too aggressive a flame doing this. You'll actually make other types of surface characteristics. But that's looking good. All right, well, made it through the morning. It's heating up now. Pretty sticky by now. Yeah, I like that color in the background. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one turned out pretty cool. It's got a lot of stuff in there, a lot of dimensional things to check out, which is kind of fun. Into the kiln we go. Alright guys, I'm anxious to see how this video, if we recorded this properly. Anywho, take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others around you. Enjoy life. Check out the video of this finished marble in just a second. We'll see you on another adventure, another day. Till then.